Welcome to Should I Renovate or Build New? I am here with Marshall Hickox, president of Homeworks Construction in Honolulu, Hawaii. Homeworks has been building and remodeling homes here for decades. If you're looking around your house and you're asking yourself, should I just tear it down and start over? You're not alone. Marshall has had this conversation many times, and he's going to share his insights so that you can make the right decision when the time comes. So, Marshall, you gave me a hard time the last time we were talking off camera, and you gave me a hard time about saying decades. But if you could, please do share a little bit of your background with our audience.
Well, thanks, Carolyn. Yes, Homeworks Construction started decades ago. We've been in business for about 25 years now, and we are basically an infill builder, which means that we predominantly are dealing with homes that have that dilemma, whether it's build new or start over, or whether we want to work on the existing structure. And so we've definitely spent many times having that conversation with our clients about which is the best way to go, what is most economical, how do the budgets work, and what's going to be in their best interest long term.
So then it's pretty realistic for someone to come to you and just say, I don't know, I want something different. How does a homeowner ultimately decide between tearing down their existing structure and starting over, or just renovating the space carefully?
Well, I mean, certainly a lot of the times we will show up at an appointment, and a client might be already kind of predisposed to the direction they want to go. And often we do have people that are saying, I'm not sure what I want to do. And so as a builder, when we get there, we have a kind of a mental checklist that we're starting to go through as and start to talk to the client about, what their vision is for the project, for the property, meaning we need to kind of listen to what they have to say. And there's so many different variables when it comes to what direction we want to kind of nudge the client in. And again, we always want to try and push them in the direction that's in their best interest. So we have this checklist that we kind of go down mentally, and then we have one that we go through as we talk to the client.
So a homeowner comes to you and says that they want to do something different. They ultimately need to decide between renovating their home and starting over. What's on this checklist? How do they make that decision?
Sure. I mean, again, these checklists that we go through, first thing is we arrive on the job site, and we've already kind of spoken with the client a little bit about before we arrive about what they're thinking, but it's generally questions. As we get there, we'll start to look around, and if someone's saying, I want to do a whole house remodel, I'm planning. We want to add some square footage. We're a growing family. We want to start planning for aging in place, all these different things. And so as we get there, the first thing as a builder, we, kind of start with property a little bit. If someone's planning on their initial idea is they want to remodel, we start looking around to see if there's any type of settlement or movement, if they have moss rock walls or CRM walls on the property line. We look to see any issues with those because those can be indicators. So we're looking for indicators what our scope of work might entail. If someone wants to do a second story, then we want to start looking at where the foundation, where the new footings are going to go and things like that. But we're also looking at the existing part of the house. Is safe, that it meets current code, that it's protected for uplift and hurricane and flooding has obviously been an issue as of late. So we really want to look and see if there's going to be an issue for that. So we kind of start from the outside in, literally the property line, and then we start working in towards looking at the actual structure of the home itself. When it comes to people, when we start to kind of maybe say, are you interested in, as a builder, we want to be careful about that because people think that we're pushing them in that direction for a monetary reason. But when we get to the job site and someone wants to remodel, but they want to move the kitchen from one side of the house to the other, they want to move master from one side to the other, or put that up. They want to extend the rear, the right. They want to do a new front entry. There's a point where we start to talk about the economics and the pros and cons of thought about building new versus remodeling.
No, those are great points. And you started to talk a little bit about budget. And one of the common questions I know that we get is, which is more expensive? Is it more expensive to build new or to remodel?
Yeah, and that's always where we start to go. And so for us, what I like to do is when we make the suggestion of someone, and we've gone the other way, by the way. We've had people that have wanted to build new, and when we've actually said, have you thought about remodeling? Because we feel that's going to be a less expensive option for them, and we feel the house has good bones and with the things that they want to do. Because a lot of times people that have grown up in a home or spent a home, their vision of their new home is actually kind of similar because they're so used to living, that's their pattern. And so they're used to that layout. They like that layout. And so sometimes we go in that direction as well. It's almost exclusively going to be more expensive. There are a few cases, again, where we walk in, the existing structure is just, it needs so much work, and we have to touch everything. So instead of just, I call it doing a surgical remodel, where we're going in, we have to use very skilled labor, and you're trying to save certain things, and so it takes longer. It's more expensive because it's taking longer, versus we just come in, we demolish the whole thing and knock the whole thing down. But there are sometimes specific reasons people want to keep the existing home, and many times it's an emotional attachment to the home. A grandfather or a father has built the home. They just can't wrap their mind around getting rid of this thing that has been part of their lives, their entire lives. And so we want to be very sensitive to that as well. And so we might start to discuss how we can incorporate and reuse part of the new home. It might be saving certain, a lot of the redwood, we'll save it and we'll repurpose it into the home. We'll use it for different things. It might be something that's really sentimental. We've had the handprints in the sidewalks, and we've had, the door jams with all the kids' heights on it. And we'll actually take those off, we'll save them, and we'll reincorporate them back into the house. And a lot of times when we start to talk to people about that, you just kind of see this off their shoulders, and they feel better about moving forward with it.
No, I think you make a good point because, ultimately, these aren't just concrete financial decisions, but these are our homes. We have a lot of emotion invested in them. So assuming that I have this checklist, I've looked at the costs, I've looked at maybe the terrible or great shape that my home is in, but I'm still on the fence. What are some of the other things that I should consider? Like, what are the things on my mental checklist?
Well, and you touched on that a little bit too about, some of the warranties. Warranties, many problems with their warranties, and those warranties are applicable whether it's a new home or a remodel. But when you have a product failure, which is what the warranty is generally there to cover, if you've incorporated it into an older home, a lot of times getting the companies to warranty that product is going to be a little bit more difficult because they're going to assess whether this was a pre-existing condition that caused that failure, whether it be wood flooring or some type of flooring failure. Even putting roofing on top of old roofing, that can void some warranties, or it can give the rep that's out there to assess it a reason to say, hey, we don't think this is our product. We think this was caused by something. You don't have to deal with any of those types of issues. And again, another thing touching on the like the recent rains and the flooding that we've seen when we build new, rather trying to an issue if you have issues with ponding or flooding, areas of the property that are just subject to the type of rains that we have, we're able to start fresh, know that those issues are there, and we could reset elevations. Obviously, for remodeling, and you have a house that's on slab. That raising that up or dropping the grade around is an expensive measure, whereas if we're building new, we can reset those things and really make sure that we're protecting the house for any type of rain type of situation. So new gives you this opportunity to avoid all these types of issues. But yes, budget is very important. The cost of building is certainly going up. People necessarily an option because they will have to sacrifice something that they really have on their needs list rather than their wish list. It could be that extra bedroom. It could be a home office. It could be, again, aging in place, wanting to have a master suite or, upstairs and downstairs for future. So again, it's really just kind of about figuring out what's the best decision long term.
Yeah, I loved the point about the elevation. Several of the houses I know where I live, they had been nestled very, very low. And rather than, renovate, build a new foundation, lift the existing home up, they did decide to start over and get a little bit further away, I guess, from the floodwaters. But I mean, it's not the only reason that people maybe look around their home. You talked about aging in place needs. You talked about the need for just more space. So if I want more space, is it a possibility? Talk to me about the possibilities of adding an accessory dwelling unit, so an ADU.
ADU dwelling units are, we do quite a few of those a year, and they're being built for various reasons. A lot of folks are building them for extended family, for their parents. A lot of people are also building them because they plan to either move or rent out their existing home, and that's kind of their thoughts. And they actually want this ADU so they can come back and they have that as their Hawaii home, and so they can seal that off and generate income from either the main part of their house or from the ADU, and that gives them that option. So a lot of people are putting them in for various reasons, and I can tell you, when we're remodeling a house and we add an ADU, we very often have people say, oh my goodness, I'm going to live in the ADU portion because this is brand new and everything's nice and clean, and it happens more often than not. I'm quite surprised, or I shouldn't be surprised anymore. But yeah, it's a great option to have, and ADUs can be built on a kind of a smaller basis. The way our land use ordinance and our codes now, it's become very difficult to add, second kitchens or large wet bars that people can use as second kitchens. They've really cracked down that quite seriously so that even the codes prevent us from doing that. And so this ADU has really become the primary option, and really the only option if you want to have that second dwelling, second rental for your property.
No, the ADUs, I see them attached and some are detached. If I wanted to learn more about whether or not I could put an ADU on my home, are there resources available that I can consult?
Absolutely. The DPP website has great information on there, so you can go to the Department of Planning and Permitting, and they have a FAQ, a frequently asked questions, about ADUs. And then you can also run an ADU checklist, which we do for our potential clients when they come in. If it's something they're interested in, we'll go ahead and process that right away. And the ADU checklist will, you put down your property information, it goes to DPP, and it gets routed through various departments to see if any of those departments are going to disqualify you from having an ADU. And the number one disqualifier that we're seeing is generally infrastructure, so that it has lived where the sewer capacity hasn't been upgraded yet. Then the wastewater department will disqualify you and say no until your area has new sewer lines put in and upgraded capacity. They're not going to allow you to do that. For people that really need that space or they want to move forward now, you can still put in a rec room, put in a single room, but you can't put a full kitchen in. But it allows people to move forward with that, and then in the future they can convert that to an ADU, and they can then add the bedrooms inside and upgrade the wet bar to a kitchen. But at least it gets them moving forward on that structure. So we do that with when people are doing a whole home remodel, they wanted it, or people that are building new that wanted a future ADU but don't qualify now. So we try and look for various ways to so people can move forward what they want to do, or again, have that option in the future and kind of be pre-planned for that next phase in their life, and it's there ready to make that change.
No, that's fantastic. It really sounds like you're setting people up for success, whether you are, building new or renovating, and just in anticipation of future needs. We're in a unique place. We're here in Hawaii. On the mainland, often you hear, "Well, am I overbuilding? Should property values come into play when I'm looking at what I want to do to my home?" So, if I am a homeowner and I come to you and I say, "Well, do property values make a difference on what ultimately I decide to do on my home?" What is your response to that question?
Well, first, I always tell people we're not financial advisors, and so we do try and be careful. But I can give you some of my, what I've experienced with that. And so we do talk to people and say, hey, you're building for you. And that does come into the conversation with people when we say, what are your short term, long term plans? If somebody's like, this is my forever home. Then you do what you want to do for you. Because if that's your plan, then it really kind of doesn't matter what's going on. If you love the neighborhood and this is where you want to be, then you do what you want to do. We do have people that are saying, hey, my plan is to be here 3 or 4 years, and then I want to, sell this and move. Move on to try and do something bigger, let this appraise, and then at that point we talk about, what type of you want to put in there. You don't want to get too unique so that, in 4 or 5 years when you do put this on the market, someone walks in and it's, you've kind of, done something in some crazy bold color or some crazy pattern where it's like someone's going to look at that and be like, okay, I'm going to have to change that.
No,
If it's something, yes, that happens often. And we also talk about, now if this is your forever home, if that's what you like, then we'll keep our trap shut and we'll move forward. but we do offer a lot of opinion. I mean, that we're supposed to input. That's what you hire us for, to give our opinion. But ultimately, we know our clients. It's their decision. But if they're planning on it being a rent, you're gonna talk about, hey, what can we put in that is low maintenance, long term, very durable type of products that you're not going to have to worry about a renter calling and wanting, or when the renter moves out, you're going to have to replace things. We want stuff, again, durable, easy to clean, and timeless as possible, colors. That doesn't mean it has to be white. There's just a lot of patterns and kind of neutrals that you can use, and then, you accessorize to those to personalize it. But we definitely talk about what your long-term uses are. And when it comes to the property values, because I had just heard that we have broken the $900,000 threshold for the average home values here. And I can't tell you, looking back, many people I've worked with that have said, well, I kind of want to stop here because I don't want to overbuild for my neighborhood. It's almost impossible to overbuild for your neighborhood, because eventually even if you're setting the bar for the value in that neighborhood, eventually, and again, I'm an infill builder, so I'm in all these neighborhoods, unless there's something, some gross disparity when you're in one area and you're, putting in a massive Kahala style home in an area that doesn't have that. Even then, it'll probably sell. There's such a high demand for homes here, and everyone has their different tastes and wants to be in different areas. So it's a hard thing to do here, to overbuild for a specific area.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest difference with us. Eventually, for whatever you put in, the home price seems like it's still gonna meet that somewhere. I guess it'll all catch up in the end. So I did want to touch on a couple of things, though, that you said, because it relates really to the green and the environmental impact, right, of rebuilding or building new. So in terms of the greener option, if someone asks you, well, is it the greener option to renovate my existing home, or is it the greener option to build new? What's your response to that question?
Well, generally, if we're doing a whole home remodel, we are, and we're touching just about everywhere in the house. While there's probably less going to landfill, generally the amount of materials that we're putting back into that house are very, very similar. If we're building a new wall, where a single wall is now, we're doubling up that wall. So we're still putting wood studs on the inside. We're still putting new sheathing on the outside, except now you might have single wall encapsulated in that, and we're drywalling the inside. Whereas a new home, we're taking down that single wall. Now, most of the materials get recycled anyway, and a lot of, there's been bills that have been passed about, or have been proposed about, the percentage of a home that gets torn down that needs to be, mandated to be recycled. It's actually found that those percentages are being close to met already. Anything that can be burned is generally, for energy, is concrete is ground up and cycled and reused. And so, I don't have the exact kind of carbon footprint to compare. I just have based on experience that we see. And I would tell you that they're probably pretty similar. I think the biggest gains is going to be with a new home, long term, or even in the short term, being much more energy efficient than an older home. Even an older remodel home is still not, as we call it in the industry, how tight it is, meaning how, like, air exchanges. And so if you're air conditioning how much more efficient that is with a newer home versus an older home. The insulation is much more efficient. So if you do have air conditioning, it's operating less. If you're using air cooling, like you're using fans and just natural breezes, with a newer home, we're taking that into account. So we're making sure the windows are in the right place. So you'll be running ceiling fans less. We're putting in more areas for natural light. So you'll be using less lighting during the. You won't have to turn the lights on during the evening and in the late evening, and have more natural light coming into the house. So a newer home is much more energy efficient. And so we like to think that we're building very green now. And so I think the offset's pretty minimal. Shouldn't factor too much into the decision.
So as a builder, I'm sure you've run into quite a few challenging situations with homeowners. Can you share a couple of the challenging situations that you faced when you're dealing, I guess, with a homeowner who is trying to decide between building new and renovating?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, budget is always a challenge. With the rising cost of building and also people on limited incomes, and people having certain needs again. So, there's a challenge coming in where, what we do as builders, and we're very emotionally attached to every project that we do. And when we have clients that come in that really need these, they have growing families, they have parents, that are coming to live with them, or they're going to live with their parents. There's often a struggle to make sure that we can meet their needs. And so budget is one of the things that we really understand what clients are through. And with the rising costs, we're trying to provide more for less. I mean, as a company, we're always striving to do that. With permitting through DPP, time is money, and we've seen kind of the loan process has certainly started to take a little bit longer. I think the banks and the lending institutions are doing a lot more to really analyze the financial position of our clients to make sure that they don't get into trouble long term. So that adds to some time as well to it. So the challenge, it really is just when someone comes in and makes that decision that they're ready to move forward. What used to be in 9 months, you could be in your old home or in your new home. That has grown. To where we could be looking at a year and a half length process. And again, we talked about dealing with the certain types of lots. One of the things that we're seeing is because land is becoming so scarce that people are taking a chance on more and more difficult lots to build on. And so these might be lots that have a lot of easements on them. They might be lots that have, extreme downsloping, upsloping, difficult accesses, flag lots like that. And then you combine those with the building codes that we have to make sure that we're adhering to for how big you can build your house, and the large detached dwellings, which is the monster home issue, and some of the codes that have come out of that. So it's become quite challenging in those aspects, but we make sure that we do our duty. We get a lot of calls about people that say, I'm interested in this lot. Would you guys come and have a look at it and tell me what you think? And we can't, we used to be able to go out more and meet with those people, but now there's so many people in those situations that, we're not really able to go out there and help them. So we're usually saying, call your realtor, do your due diligence, talk to an attorney that specializes in that area of CPRs and setbacks
Yeah.
and land use,
Yeah.
and make sure you do your due diligence before you purchase.
No, absolutely, absolutely. We are seeing homes being built in places, that were obviously passed over the first time, and they offer some unique challenges. If if I am going to ask you to just leave us all with a few thoughts on just the question itself on should I build new or should I renovate my existing home? What are some last thoughts that you would like to leave with the audience?
I would with making sure that it almost always comes down to budget, and that first foray into meeting with various builders. I always encourage people to make sure if you're meeting with 2 or 3 builders, start off with having a written down kind of what you would like to do, meaning what are your goals? To add more space, to have X amount of bedrooms, X amount of bathrooms. Have an idea maybe of what type of square footage you're looking for, and I know that can be difficult. Tell people to measure the rooms in their house. Measure the rooms they're in now. Measure your master bedroom. Be like, oh, this is a little small. I'd like something a little bit bigger, maybe a couple more feet. And remember, you're not married to those decisions, but what you're doing, you're setting up something so that when you meet with various builders, you're able to get their input, kind of get an idea of what the relationship's going to be like, and is this someone that I can work with? And at the same time, too, your bids back, and they're all going to be based on kind of similar ideas, right? If you invite me and say, what'll I do? And I tell you, and then you have someone else come and say, what'll I do? They might very well tell you something completely different. And while you might love us and it's coming down to budget, you are going to have 2 different bids based on 2 different concepts. And so start off with putting your own concept together if you can, and use that and present that and get the feedback. And when you choose who you'd like to be your builder, you can always revisit that. Like, how many folks that they said, we're going to hire you, but we decided we'd like to do a 2-story instead of a 1-story. And so you have those, and then we go ahead and we explore those options and look at those options, and you've already known that we're someone that you can work with. So do some planning, try and get an idea of what you'd like to do, and again, a lot of it is kind of do your research, but also go with your gut. I mean, who you feel that is going to be the best working relationship for you, and who you think is going to get you to the end line with the least amount of difficulty. Those would be my closing thoughts.
No, that's it. I mean, it's all about getting to the finish line. And I know that you won't brag. I've known you for quite a while now, and I do want to share that your company does fantastic work, and you do fantastic work at various price points. So I do want to take a second and pull up a couple of project photos and just have you talk to us a little bit about them. So this first project that's up on the screen, tell me a little bit about what you did here for this client.
A beachfront property that we did up in Kahuku. This home was for someone that was planning on selling it. So you can see we did a lot of kind of neutral palette, and they came in with the furniture and put that together. Absolutely beautiful site, and great to work with. Lots of natural light, flat ceilings, as you can see. A lot of people talk about wanting vaults and wanting to do coffers and things like that. And we do quite a bit of that. But really, I love the nice clean lines that you can see. And sometimes keeping it simple really actually looks more luxurious than luxurious. I mean, we want to build homes that people want to live in. You see a lot of when people start getting into a little bit of higher end. But sometimes I look at it and be like, oh, that'd be a great place to rent and stay for a week or two, but I don't know if that feels like a home to me. And so our goal is always to create homes that you want to be in. And so great project, beautiful view. And I could definitely live in that house.
No, it's not bad at all. And then we have this is a kitchen space that you did. Can you share a little bit about this one?
Yeah, sure. This is a kitchen and small lanai remodel that we did. I don't believe we added square footage to this home. It was just a remodel. We're actually bidding on for this client to do a third project for them. So this is a 3-time repeat client. And again, they were very very instrumental in their selections and how they wanted things. And we got a beautiful glass glass tiles. Always, it's a wonderful feature. It's nice because it's kind of easy to clean. Very difficult to install. So we always, when people want to go glass, our tile guys are always like, oh boy. But once it's in, it's such a beautiful feature. And again, this one is kind of a neutral palette. You can't tell on the countertops, but it's got some great greens and blues. So there's a lot of really nice. And this one was actually on the water as well, and really just brings in that color. A great kind of smaller kitchen space that we made, that we kind of created lots of counter space and a great island for sitting around.
Well, I mean, it says something. Renovations aren't exactly, the most comfortable way to spend your time, right? So for a client to come back and to hire you back 2 or 3 times to disrupt their life, it actually does say something. So, I mean,
we have quite a few repeat clients and clients that come on referrals. It's actually a fairly significant part of our business, and that's always a tremendous honor, especially when recommended from a friend or family, because they're taking a risk by recommending a builder that the experience is going to be good. So we do take great pride in that, and we know we got to take extra care of those clients as well.
No, it's true. It's true. And I can't emphasize enough, even though the 2 examples that we showed here, they were both near the water. I can't emphasize enough that really you are very budget conscious and friendly, and you do build homes at all price points. But I do want to share the fact that HomeWorks has made the cover of Hawaii Home and Remodeling magazine many, many times, and we will share the covers here with you. And with that last thought, I would like to say, if a person wants to come to you and learn more about, really going after that question, what should I do? Should I just start over and build new, or should I renovate? How can they get more information?
The best way is to go onto our website at homeworkshawaii.com, and we have a link there where you can request us to give you a call, and we'll return your call and set up a time, and one of our experts will come out and have a look at your project, and I kind of talk to you about the process. So we'll go through and listen to what you have to say, and be excited and honored to provide you a proposal and estimate for the work. And we do not charge for that, and we would love to do that, and we'd appreciate it. Again, at homeworkshawaii.com.
Thank you so much, Marshall, and mahalo to everyone who joined us. If you'd like to ask more questions about assessing whether a remodel or new building project is right for you, email mrh@homeworkshawaii.com, and then please visit homeworkshawaii.com for a portfolio on recent work here on Oahu. Thank you so much, Marshall, for taking the time today.
It was my pleasure, Carolyn. Thank you, everybody out there. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you.